Hello and welcome to the GBC Productions channel. This is episode 80, which is also part 4 of the engine rebuild. In this video, we're going to be replacing the valve guide seals on the cylinder heads and rebuilding the oil pump in the timing chain cover. I've already done the other cylinder head, and I'm not going to go through showing each one of these. We'll just do one of them. Then we'll move on to the timing chain cover. I laid the cylinder head on its side for ease of viewing. So I have a valve spring compressor here, and it's adjusted. We lock it in place. And there's a handle on the other side that I will tighten down, and it will compress the spring. Now this spring did release from the valve stem. Sometimes you have to take a little brass hammer and give it a little tap and it'll release. And I'll keep tightening it down. I may have to take you off the tripod for a second and show you what I'm pointing at here. Alright, now you can see the valve keepers. There's 2 of them. I just need to remove them. There they are. Now back to the tripod, then I'm going to release the clamp. Now I just need to pull on the handle and everything comes apart. The valve spring has a shield on it of sorts. Here's our valve guide seal that we're replacing. I'm going to push the valve out. Here's the valve. It's an exhaust valve. And then I have a valve guide seal puller. I'll grab onto it and pull the seal off. Here's the new seal. I'll put a little bit of assembly lube on it. And then I'll just push it on. Now let me get the valve ready to put back in. I'll put some assembly lube on the valve stem. Now I'll slide the valve back in. And I'll put the spring back on. I already loosened up the clamp a bit so I can fit it over the cylinder head. And I'll tighten it back down just like I did for disassembly. And I'll use a small pair of needle nose pliers to put the keepers back in. It's a little tricky to get the keepers in with the cylinder head sitting on its side, but it can be done. One fell out. I'll pull the release lever. Okay, one of the keepers did shift out, so I have to recompress it and get that in the right place. So I have to recompress the spring. And I'll push the keeper in as I'm compressing the spring back. I know my hand's in the way, but can't do much about that. Now I'll pull the release again. And this time it worked. All the valve guide seals have been replaced. Now I can set this aside and we'll go on to the timing chain cover. With the cylinder heads finished, I have them set aside and I have the timing chain cover, and now we're going to rebuild the oil pump here. There are 5 screws here and they look like they use a Torx T30 bit. I'm going to pause for a moment while I break these loose. I got 4 of them removed. I just have this last one to take out. Then this cover lifts off. And here are the oil pump gears. It's actually in very good shape, but I have the parts, so I'm going to put them in anyway. Now the new parts have been soaking in oil. I just have to go get them. And we'll just set the new gears in. They drop right in, everything moves smoothly. I'm also going to pack this with some grease. The grease I'm using for this is from Comp Cams. And I'm just going to pack it in. Petroleum jelly could also be used. But this is what I have on hand, so this is what I'm going to use. I'll pause for a moment and I'll be back. Now the oil pump kit came with a new plate, so we'll put the new one on. And it also came with new screws. Once I get these in, then I'm going to torque them down to factory specs. I'm going to pause for a minute to look up the specs. Alright, they're all torqued down. They torque to 89 inch-pounds. Now we'll flip this over and put in the cam sensor. Cam sensor goes right here. Then we'll put in the front main seal. Here's the camshaft position sensor. I put a little bit of oil on the O-ring so it just slide right in. And then I'll put in the bolt that holds it down. Cam's in place and torqued to specs. Now it's time to put in the front main seal. So here's the front main, and then I'm just going to tap it in with a hammer. I've got to go find a socket to drive it in straight. Yeah, it's not going to go in without something to drive it in straight. I'll go ahead and find something, I'll do it off camera, and I'll be right back. Okay, the front main is in, now we're on to the oil filter adapter. Now here is the oil pressure regulator. I lubricated that, and then I push it in place. Now I'll put on the gasket. Here's the oil filter housing. Now we'll put the bolts in and then torque them down properly. I have to pause because the camera's in my way. With the oil filter housing on, one last thing to do is put in the oil pressure sending unit. I'll put some thread sealant on the oil pressure sender itself, and then we'll put it in and tighten it down. Don't forget to subscribe for more, mash that like button, and comment below. Until next time, this is Uncle D from GBC Productions, signing off.